Motivation. What is motivation? It's a question that eluded me for the past 29 years, ever since I was a child. Motivation has eluded me majorly in school. I was not motivated to learn, do anything physically. Yeah, I was not motivated to do much in life except playing video games. And I had this desire to make video games when I was young, but I would always try to learn programming. I would always try to learn 3D modeling and animation. My first ever project was when I was 10. I opened 3ds Max, got overwhelmed by it, and closed it off. And then I opened it again, and I downloaded 3D model of Star Destroyer and Mass Effect's Normandy that would, fly around the Star Destroyer and warp out like a Star Trek spaceship out of the engagement of the Star Destroyer. And that would be it. There's plenty of times within our life where we feel motivated to do one thing or another. But the more I understand about neuroscience, the more I understand about our reward circuitry, the more I understand that it's all kind of like our understanding of what moves us, what gives us purpose, what gives us meaning, what gives us this pulse to move and do things. The more I understand that the whole time I lived my life was completely wrong in a way. It wasn't wrong in the sense I've been doing completely wrong things. I was doing a lot of things. I was doing maybe too many things. I was spreading my attention across writing, 3D, animation, modeling, programming, graphics, UI, web development, graphic design, motion graphics, right? I've done a lot of things in life, maybe too many. I'm a really good generalist, but can I finish a project? Can I set a goal and finish that goal? That was a very hard thing to do for me for a very, very long time. And so when I think about motivation, we think about motivation comes first, and then sort of the first action comes second, and then you sort of get pulled into the flow of things. And it's sort of correct, but dopamine, the way we think about dopamine that our brain produces, is not drug as we think, oh my god, smoke some weed, get dopamine or something like that, right? Dopamine is not a drug of pleasure, it's a drug of action. And when a child sees a cookie, the dopamine is released in order to motivate it to stand up and try to reach towards that cookie. There's no pleasure within that. The only thing that dopamine does is it is pleasurable to eat that cookie. Therefore, you will try and do your best effort in order to survive and eat the calories that you need. The motivation is not coming from dopamine. The motivation comes from more of survival instincts of I need to eat, I need to sleep, I need to entertain myself because for men at least, it's you need to preserve energy. Therefore, you need to spend time not moving. Let's watch something. You're more motivated to do nothing than to do something, just in general. Or generalization, obviously, but still holds the truth. So dopamine is not pleasure chemical. It is action chemical. The true motivation does not come as a cause. It comes as a reaction. It's an emergent property. You do an action, and that action gives you just a little bit of dopamine to reinforce that action. So you could do that action again and again and again. You don't go to the gym because it's pleasurable, and you feel like you have to, you feel like you should. And there's argument to be made whether a should is a good thing, because a should is you should do it because your parents told you, or you should do it because your partner told you, or your mom, or your friend, or your teacher, or your coworker, or your employer. You should do this. You should not do anything. Nobody is making you do anything. You get to go to the gym. And then you go into the reason why. Why do you get to go to the gym? Well, because it is something that you value, and what it is that you value or believe in. You believe in health for yourself because you want to see yourself walking your hypothetical daughter down the line, or not line, the aisle when she's getting married. Or you want to spend more time with kids when you're going to get to 60 or 70 and your joints are not that good, and you still want to be active with them, with your grandkids, for example. or maybe you just want to look good for your partner. Whatever it is that motivation and what your value is, that's where true idea of maybe I get to do that or I have to do that, go to the gym. And that has more of an impulse. You sort of like get an idea, oh, maybe I do need to go, but most likely you don't feel like it. You don't feel like going to the gym. You feel like cozying up in bed under the blanket. So what do you do in that situation? Well, now you have a choice. Do you submit to your brain giving dopamine towards spending time in bed, or do you recognize that your brain is trying to trick you into preserving the calories and not burn them and not get more active? Because to the brain, it makes no sense to go to the gym. It's not something that gives you reward right away. Going to bed gives you a reward right away. You feel comfort. You feel like if you have some worry, all of a sudden you can just scroll through Twitter or Tinder or Instagram or TikTok, and you just feel at ease. You are hyper-focused on the task. You don't have to do anything all of a sudden, right? But going to the gym is effort. It takes effort to do things at the gym or work. It's not effortless. It never will be. So where is that leaving us? At a crucial point in time, at a choice. Do you choose to follow through with what you get to do, or do you choose to abandon it and kind of succumb to your dopaminergic urges of seeking pleasure? Because brain is always going to land you towards pleasure. Now, there's ways to circumvent that by having responsibility. As a parent, I think parents, they are extremely motivated to take care of their children, take care of their partners. So, okay, but we're trying to make video games here, right? Like, there's nothing in video games that is specifically gives us responsibility, especially if it is a hobby and not like something you do for work. And even when you do for work, you still have like, is it for yourself as a, not a hobby, but sort of like you are unemployed and you're trying to make this a thing, so you're trying to make it real, or maybe you're working at your day job and you're sort of slaving away at EA or whatever. There's plenty of reasons why you could be doing video games, but you have to figure out what it is that makes you not just want, not just desire, because those things are extrinsic sensory motivators. Do you want because you played a really cool video game? That's not a intrinsic correlated motivation. You need something that speaks within you. Like, I value creativity, and I value an indie game scene because with very little resources, you can make something like mouthwashing, something like Eglin, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people teams over a course of a few years can produce just incredible art pieces of video games. And I value that form, and I value that video game form as a medium for my own creativity. There's something I wanted to say that is extremely important, whether it is through storytelling, maybe through gameplay. I really want to see this game that hasn't been done before, has been done before but has been forgotten. Therefore, I want to recreate this genre and give it love that I used to get from playing the games within that genre. What is the motivation for you, right? Like, you have to figure that out first, because when that decision comes, what do you think to? Do you think to the people that make video games and think, damn, they're cool? They're very cool people, and therefore I really want to make video games. Probably not. Probably it is going to be something that is related to actually you. And if not, then you have to get to that point of thinking, what is it within this space, this medium, this thing that I'm dreaming and can't get my head off? What is it that motivates me within this space? Because at that moment in time, when you think, I can't go back to bed, I feel really tired, I feel very unmotivated to do this thing, that's when you create a spark of motivation and say, no, I will do this thing. And I don't have to do it all, just one step. And once you do that one step, that's when motivation comes into play. It's an emergent property. It's a reaction. There was a cause. And what is the cause for you? Well, you have to figure out for yourself. But once you understand your own beliefs, your values, that's when you think to yourself, okay, I can do this. I can make this one step I'm not climbing Everest. I'm just taking a peek at this hill that I'm trying to climb. I don't even know how many steps it's gonna take. I don't care how many steps it's gonna take. But this one step of opening the software up and saying, okay, I'm gonna create a character today. I don't know how. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's the process is. But let's figure it out. Like just open a tutorial and just follow the steps. That's all it takes. It's a 10-minute tutorial, very low stakes. Just watch it. Okay, you've watched it. Now open the Blender or 3D software and repeat the process. Okay, I don't like this thing. I don't like that thing. I don't like how this thing looks. Okay, let's tweak. Let's move these vertices around. You don't need motivation at that point. You're already in the flow of things. You're already seeing what can be improved, what can be done. You're not trying to recreate this like vision that you have within your mind of this video game. No, you're just trying to create a character. It's one character, it's flawed character, it's your first character, or your 12th character, or your 100th character, or your 100th word that you're gonna write in dialogue or texture that you're gonna do. It's all about that first step, because once you get to that first step, that's when motivation kicks in and it makes you follow through with this thing. And it's really important not to get distracted. Circling back to how many things have I done? And what's the reason? It's because I go to Pinterest, I go to Behance, I go to Dribbble, and I look at all these people doing amazing things, and I think to myself, why can't I do the amazing things? I want to do all of them. I can't do all of them. I can only do one thing at a time. And if I want to do it successfully, I can only do one thing at a time for a very long time. So what's it gonna be? I hope you understand that this is not a rule. This is something that I found that I'm kind of applying right now, and every day it gets easier to understand that all I have to do, I'm not trying to make an entire video game that has 20 hours of content and I have to think of all the 20 hours of content. All I have to do is sit down and write one line of dialogue, or make a square that looks like a pillow, which makes up a body of a character that's going to be a frog. I don't know how this frog is gonna look like. I didn't pick any references at that point. I'm just trying to find a shape. What is that shape that makes me kind of smile? It makes me think about my nephews, which is honestly a very interesting topic, which is I have two nephews. One of them, the oldest, is rather do nothing or more like play video games and watch YouTube and do basically nothing but stare at the screen. But the youngest one is of a very different mindset. They both grew up in the same household, probably, 6 years apart. But the youngest one, he does not need motivation to do creativity. He always has his hands busy, whether it's with air dry plastic, I guess. So it's like very malleable plastic until it like kind of air dries and becomes very tough. And he doesn't need motivation to make music. He just, as a mode of being, whistles or hums a theme of a song that he's interested in. I recently walked out of the room and we have like this cat piano. It's for kids. And yet here he is making, I think it's Michael Myers theme from, I think it's Friday the 13th song, just by ear. Nothing, like it doesn't watch a tutorial, just by ear. And he has a sense for creation that is like, I haven't seen that within myself or other people around me. It's very specific like essence of creation that I am yet to find in people around me. I've seen it in artists. They just like their default mode is creation. And you can sense that with developers as well, like especially hardcore developers or engineers. Their default mode, we're thinking, oh, they're problem solvers. No, they're artists whose medium is writing code. They're solving problems not because it's like their mind is structured to solve problems. No, it's because it's an art form that they excel at and they're really good at, and they look at it and they look at all these things that they can do to optimize the problem. It's an art form. And I never was like that. Maybe with filmmaking, I was a little bit like that, but I probably did not have like a teacher or like some outlet. But even that, I had someone in my life who's pursued that, and I can see the difference. They're just obsessed with storytelling and filmmaking. You can see that in directors of photography. They're obsessed with texture, light, image, the meaning behind a frame, why something has to be from this side or this side, and why is the movement needs to go there and there. It's very specific, it's very precise mode of operation. They look at the world in a different way. They look at people in a different way. And for me, I guess I do, but in a very weird and unique way that I'm still trying to figure out. And for the most part of my life, I just spread my attention so wide that I couldn't get to the bottom of that question. Like, what is it that makes me tick? And now now that I understand, okay, motivation is a form of emergent property, right? It's not like it is caused by action. It's not the other way around. It becomes easier and easier to go from I don't want to do anything, which is something that I wrestle daily, if not hourly, to I'll just do this one thing and not think about everything else. And then someone who's asking the question why on a daily basis about literally everything, it's really hard to go from asking the questions to doing the actions. But if you feel unmotivated, if you feel like you can't do the things, there's lots of reasons why you can feel that way. And I would love to get more and more into like motivation and actions and procrastination and what's a partialization. If you are in that mode, in that state, just try to do an action. Some days a simple action of getting out of the bed seems impossible. The best action to take at that point is stop scrolling and doom scrolling through your screen. And remember the better times, the gooder times. Remember that everything is not permanent. It comes and goes, happy and bad times. And try to make one action, which is get up, and then the second action, which is go take a shower. And then you'll feel compelled to take a breakfast, make coffee. At that point, of course, it would be best if you wrote down what's the first action you're gonna take when you wake up, which is gonna make you better and more productive and richer and more wealthy, right? Like, I think that's sort of bullshit a little bit, because you're trying to hack the system, and the system does not want to be hacked. So, but I think system wants to be understood, which is you have a pull to lay in bed, and it's not something that it says about you as a character, as a person, as an ego within the body. It's more or less your brain trying to save you some pain or whatever it is that you're going through. And it does not have all the necessary information to realize making this action, which is maybe a creative outlet, is not gonna bring me pain. If you're gonna, approach it carefully by, not opening Pinterest thinking like, okay, what I'm gonna do now, and looking at all these like awesome pieces and 3D scenes and thinking, okay, I'm gonna do this cool 3D scene that has like all these like 50 different props. And no, just open the scene and think what it is that this scene needs. Just start there. Thanks for listening. Bye.